How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk about the cryptocurrency markets. I want to talk about something that I did, a kind of a big move that will probably catch some people off guard because of some bad news that has come out. But I also want to talk about some good news. We are seeing a bit of relief in the cryptocurrency market. I want to show you who's selling and who's holding now because there has been a big change. And just take a look at some of the top news. Also giving an update on Celsius because I've seen some people asking for that. Now, if you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribe button, that's all I'm going to ask. Turn on that bell notification so you know right when I post a video because I try to bring you content really quickly when there is time-sensitive information. There's also a link down there to the Patreon. I did give them information on what I sold and bought here today before anyone else, obviously, because they do get first information there. Now, the crypto market is looking better here today. We're seeing a bit of relief after a terrible last 7 days with Bitcoin down 22%, Ethereum down 22% as well over the last 7 days. And we're seeing some relief. This is nice just because the market has been so beaten down. Now, it's interesting because relief today would have been last week's capitulation. We would have had so much fear if we had been told that Bitcoin would be at 21,000 a week ago. A lot of people would have freaked out. And a lot of people did over the last 7 days. Now, the American stock market is closed today for a national holiday, Juneteenth, but some of the other exchanges are obviously open, some of the other stock exchanges. The FTSE 100 out of Europe is up about 1.3%, so the stock market is doing a little bit better today as well. You can also see here that there's less fear in crypto, still extreme fear, but less fear than yesterday. We were at 6, now we're at 9. We're getting a little bit closer to the 200-week moving average as well on the weekly candle here for Bitcoin. We're still about $1,700 away, but typically we only stay underneath this 200-week moving average for just 1 to 2 weeks in a bear market and then pop right back above it. So this has been a great time to be accumulating Bitcoin. Obviously, there's always more fear. This time is different. It always seems like it's different, but historically, this has been a really good time to be buying. Now, with that being said, we're still getting a lot of liquidations, 260 million today, less than we saw last week, but still a lot coming in Ethereum and Bitcoin, and a lot of shorts being liquidated actually, which is good for everyone just holding Bitcoin. $118 million worth of shorts liquidated. Now we can see a lot of realized losses recently. This has been a record $7.3 billion in realized loss over the last few days, showing a lot of people are just selling no matter the price. They're just trying to get out and stop the bleeding. Miners are also accumulating again for the first time in a bit. You can see back in April, they started selling pretty significantly, and the price followed down. Now that the price has fallen even more, they're accumulating and holding, which is a good sign. Just less selling pressure overall in the market. Tether, also, we're going to talk about Celsius and Solana here in a second, but Tether says it is preparing a full audit with a top 12 firm to provide more transparency on its USDT reserves. This is good. I mean, a lot of people are worried about Tether overall because it's a $68 billion time bomb. At least that's what a lot of people think, because a lot of people think it's just a Ponzi and that they don't actually have the money there. Hopefully, if this top 12 firm confirms that they actually have a significant amount of reserves, that will make some people feel better. I know that they've done some things in the past with audits and then just never fulfilled it. So hopefully this goes through and goes smoothly. Obviously, it will take time, but with US regulation coming, this will be nice to see that they actually have some money there. Now, moving on to Celsius. A lot of people have been asking me to cover Celsius recently. I'm sure that there are some people on the channel that have money on Celsius. They say here, this is just as of 14 hours ago. It's been 1 week since we paused withdrawals, swaps, and transfers. We want our community to know that our objective continues to be stabilizing our liquidity and operations. As has been a priority since our company's inception, we maintain an open dialogue with regulators and officials. We plan to continue working with regulators and officials regarding this pause and our company's determination to find a resolution. We are pausing Twitter Spaces and AMAs to focus on navigating these unprecedented challenges and seeking to fulfill our responsibilities to our community. Acting in the interest of our community remains our priority, and we will continue to work around the clock. Obviously, this has been a tough time for everyone with money on Celsius. They can't really get into AMAs and Twitter Spaces, I think, just for legality reasons, or just because there's a lot of liability if they say something they're not supposed to say. So they're just pretty much cutting off communications, except for really scrubbed through blog posts and probably some tweets as well. It's a tough time, but hopefully they can get through this just for everyone else's sake. Now, if they fall, I think the market will fall as well a bit, but I don't think it will be as devastating as the Luna collapse. And I could be wrong, but I don't think it will be necessarily that dramatically bad for the overall market. Now, the Digital Asset Fund Flows Weekly report usually comes out on Monday mornings, but with the holiday, I think it will be pushed back a day. I'll cover that as soon as possible, though, and that will show what institutional investors are doing, what kind of funds are reallocating. And then moving on to Solana. We have some interesting news on Solana, and this is really interesting because Solana is actually up significantly on the last 7 days. We have some news. This is really yesterday's news, but there have been some updates. Solana invalidates Solana whale wallet takeover plan with second governance vote. So just a little background, Solana allows you to do some DeFi on Solana. And basically there was a whale that deposited $170 million or so in Solana and took a loan against it, over $100 million. Now the problem with this is that whale gets liquidated on his Solana position if it falls below about $22. Now we've fallen to about $25 and some change on Solana before, and this could cause a lot of problem for the market. A lot of people think that there would be a total meltdown on Solana and that it would drive the price to zero. Now I'm not sure about the price to zero. There's still a $12 billion market cap. The liquidation would cause about $170 million of Solana now to be liquidated. That obviously would push down the price, and there's just not a lot of liquidity in the system, but it's hard to know exactly how much it would fall and when buyers would come in and that kind of thing. Now, what Solana wanted to do was they created a DAO to vote and actually take over this whale wallet, which would hopefully be able to stop the price from dropping on Solana. The problem is that's not very decentralized, is it? A lot of these different layer ones pride themselves on being decentralized. That's the whole point of cryptocurrency, right? So going in and taking over a wallet and controlling someone's funds really hurts that argument that you're decentralized. So they had a second governance vote that invalidated the last one, and now they're looking for some other way of trying to protect investors besides just taking over the funds. So this is a bit of a problem, obviously. There's some risk of Solana falling dramatically. And the interesting thing is, this is coming at a time when Solana's up 18% in the last 7 days. So I was looking at this, and I don't like to sell in and out of cryptos. I pretty much held all the top 20 cryptos or top 30, 40 cryptos that I had held earlier. And I hadn't really trimmed too many altcoin positions, really just adding to Bitcoin over the last few months. Like I said, I hadn't really sold any of them and tried to move into Bitcoin more heavily. Now with this, I saw some potential downside, and I've talked about this a lot over the last week or two, that one of the biggest things you can do in this crypto bear market to make it through is just trying to not lose money. Like trying to make sure that you move money off of exchanges that seem sketchy or like they're in trouble, trying to make sure that you move in and out of positions if a cryptocurrency seems like it's in trouble, especially after Luna, a top 10 crypto, fell dramatically. I just wanted to protect myself a bit. And the interesting thing is, like I said, Solana's up 18.4% on the last 7 days while Bitcoin's down 22%. So there's a 40% difference. This is at a time too where there's been so much fear that typically Bitcoin and Ethereum fall less than a lot of the altcoins, but you can see that the Bitcoin dominance has actually been going down over the last week. We are up at 49%, and now we're down at 44.4%. So I want to be careful. I want to protect myself a bit. So I did sell some of my Solana, and I really do like Solana. I think they have a bright future, but in this kind of scenario where we do have a massive price difference on the last 1 week, and there is something that could potentially be really bad for Solana in the future, and with the fact that nothing's really changed on the macro, it's not like, oh, the Fed start to lower interest rates again, or there's some peak of inflation, right? We just got over a really fearful time. And we haven't really seen anything change while the markets are still going up. I did switch around some of my position. I did sell 50% of my Solana and move it into Bitcoin. Now I realize some people think I'm a flip-flopper or something like that. I'm okay with some people disagreeing with me, but I still like Solana over the long term. If there is more of a problem though, if this seems to escalate and it gets closer and closer to liquidation, I probably will sell more, just because of the fact that, again, the number one thing to do in these kinds of bear markets is to make sure you don't lose money. And when there's a cryptocurrency that has a dramatic issue on the horizon and is still doing really well price action wise, I'm going to trim a little bit of that position. And heck, if I just have a little bit more Bitcoin, I'm okay with that as well. If we go back to all-time highs, oh well, I trimmed a little bit of my position, but I still have been buying a lot of crypto over the last few months, so I'm okay with that as well. So let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Are you looking at trimming your Solana position? Do you think Solana is crap? Let me know in the comment section down below. I really do appreciate it. If you guys want to know this kind of information a little bit earlier, you can check out the link down below to Patreon. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.